Welcome to Life Sketches, a Chico, California Steak webcast. I'm Melanie McLaughlin, and today we are talking with Shelby Baird. Thank you so much for coming and spending some of your time with us. Mm-hmm. We're excited to have you. Mm-hmm. Will you start out just telling us a little bit about your family?
Yeah, so I have my mom and dad. I'm living with them right now. And then I have my older brother and my older sister, and my older sister's husband, and Ellie, our dog.
And Ellie, your dog. Tell me, just so everybody knows, what are your parents' names?
Sunny and Jody.
Okay, Sunny and Jody Baird. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people around here know them. So,
yeah.
Okay. And how long have you had your dog?
I think we've had her since I was probably in middle school, so like 12 years old.
Okay. And do you see her as your dog or the family dog?
She's the family dog, but she's also my sister.
Okay.
Yeah, we're definitely very close. She sleeps with me a lot of nights, and she kind of has a different relationship with everyone in the family. So that's really cute. But my parents always say she kind of sees me as more of like her equal.
Okay. That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun. What are some things that you think you've learned from Ellie?
Well, she's the first pet I've ever had, the first and only pet I've ever had. So it's the first time I've experienced that kind of unconditional love, and like the idea that you can like just be with another creature, and like, yeah, I think Ellie's taught me a lot about what it feels to have like that kind of deep unconditional love. And of course you have that with your family, but I think it's a little bit different with a pet. And I think anyone who has a pet can understand that. And she helped me a lot through a lot of my mental health struggles, and still does to this day, because there is kind of no question or judgment. She's just always there no matter what state or condition you're in. And so she's definitely been a big part of my life.
So you have an older sister and a younger brother, is that right?
Older sister, older brother.
Okay, so you're the youngest.
Yeah, I'm the
So
baby.
you are enjoying your parents' undivided attention at home right now, right?
Yeah.
How do you like being the only child at home?
It's nice. Sometimes the undivided attention is a lot. I love you guys. I love you, Mom and Dad. But I definitely, I love my parents. I love playing games with them and being able to, like, live with them. But at the same time, I'm really excited to be able to move out again because I loved living on my own. So I'm excited to have that sense of independence again.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about how your parents came to Chico.
Yeah. So my parents came to Chico because of my dad's work. They, I guess my dad had a few options of where to go, and they ended up praying about it, and they chose Chico. And the first time we actually visited here, there was a biking tournament going on. So every single hotel in all of Chico was full. So we ended up staying in this motel that was like cold tile floors and like wasn't really the most clean or nice smelling. And so that's kind of definitely a harder, weird first impression. But of course, we're glad that we stayed. And it wasn't too hard for me because I was younger. So it wasn't that too big of a deal for me to move.
And where did you guys move from?
From San Jose. That's where I was born.
Okay, from San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a different, like San Jose is a much bigger city than Chico. Do you remember much about being in San Jose versus spending most of your time here?
I remember I went to a private school when I was little, and I did really enjoy that a lot. I liked the structure and the curriculum, and they had a lot of resources for kids out in the Bay Area, but of course it was really, really expensive. And I remember like some of the kids' houses we would visit for holidays were like, I was like, how is this even real? Because, you know, obviously we weren't living in the hills or in mansions like some of those other kids at the private school, but I'm so grateful that my parents, like, you know, used some of their resources to get us into that school for the time being. And in Chico, it was definitely a lot harder to find the resources that I needed in terms of schooling, and I had to move schools a lot to finally find what I needed. And then I moved to Core Butte in high school, or at the end of middle school, and that's where I graduated from.
What did you like about Core Butte?
It's kind of like a college setup. And so I was able to go in just a few times a week and do the rest of my work at home. I was looking for a hybrid schedule with, you know, dance and my mental health. And I just didn't really need the social aspect as much of high school, but I had enough of it. And every student has their own personalized learning teacher that can kind of help them and guide them. And the teachers are just so real, and they actually like their job. I think that makes a big difference when teachers are actually happy to be at the school that they're at. So I definitely recommend CORE to anyone who is looking for a similar kind of structure.
And you said you wanted the hybrid schedule because of dance. What types of dance did you do?
I did all solo styles. So that is like ballet, contemporary, lyrical, tap, hip-hop, anything that's not ballroom. But I also did dabble throughout high school in West Coast swing, a little bit of salsa, and then when I went to Utah, I learned some country swing. But I'm not quite as advanced in those ones. Those are just more for recreation, and I hope to learn more of those in the future.
Do you have a favorite style of dance?
It's weird because, when you're a kid and you have all your stuffed animals, you don't want to say which one's your favorite because you feel bad. It's literally like that. I don't know why I feel bad choosing a favorite, but I would say that it really depends on my mood completely and how my body's feeling, how my mind's feeling. But I would say that my most advanced styles are definitely ballet and contemporary, with the experience and amount of hours that I've had in those styles. And those are that's my most advanced teaching level, but I can teach all the solo styles just at different levels.
Have you taught very much?
I taught out in Utah. After high school, I went out there for a year. That was my original plan, was to just go out there for a year and then go on a mission after, but we'll talk more about that later. So I taught out there, and I was able to teach adults and kids and toddlers, all ages, so that was really fun. But my main core classes were adult classes, and I really loved that a lot. My original intention was to go out there and be able to take classes in Salt Lake City, since there's an adult studio out there that does advanced classes. It's really, really hard to find studios that have adult classes unless you're in a big city. It's really hard to find studios that have advanced adult classes unless you're in a big city like LA, New York, Salt Lake City. So yes, I have.
So it sounds like you enjoyed teaching advanced classes to adults quite a bit. And probably around here, there's really mostly beginning classes, right?
Yeah, and even in, out in Salt Lake City, I was going to be taking the classes myself to keep my training going, yeah. I didn't end up doing that just because, I was working over 40 hours every week, and getting out there was too difficult. But yes, I do really love teaching adults dance. I really love teaching them any style, but adults, when they come, there is a sense of babysitting involved with the younger kids, but it's still really fun because you have to come up with new ways to describe things and get things in their head and kind of get them to work together and move their body together. So it is super fun, but I don't think I would ever want to be in a schedule, if I could help it, where I'm only teaching one age group, for however long. I love being able to teach multiple age groups.
You like the variety.
I love the variety.
Yeah. Do you find that you prefer teaching over performing yourself?
No. I like both for different reasons, but I miss performing a lot. A lot. It was throughout middle school and high school, I had really bad shoulder issues that just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And so by my senior year, I couldn't move my body anymore the way it was supposed to be moving. And, even at my last competition, I ended up getting docked points because of my shoulders not moving in the way that they're supposed to. And that was so frustrating, knowing that, in my mind and in my heart, I can move and I know what to do, but I physically can't. So that was always my goal, was to go professional with it. And so I don't really know what I'm going to do with it anymore. That's something I'm still trying to figure out with myself. And it's definitely something I'm a little bit nervous again to try and jump into. Since being back in town, this is actually the longest I've gone without having any involvement with dance in my entire life.
How long has it been?
I've taken, one or two classes, but it's probably been a year and a half.
And you miss it.
I miss it a lot. Yeah. It's hard. It's definitely really hard. And it's kind of weird because my fiance, Michael, he hasn't even ever really seen me fully dance on stage. He's never seen me perform. So that's really strange in a way. I've shown him videos, but videos don't typically do it justice. And it's so hard because every video I look at, I'm like, that's not good. That's not right. And I think there's something so different about performing in person and being like, yeah, like I feel like this was really my style and this is my, you know, I felt like that. I feel like I showed who I was on stage. And so I'm excited to hopefully one day I'll have the opportunity to show him.
So does he dance?
No, he doesn't. He's very tall and has long legs, and so I'm really hoping he's going to do ballroom with me. I think he's going to take some classes at Chico State since he's already there and they have those classes. But I can get him to dance with me.
As soon as you started describing him, I'm like, well, that's perfect for ballroom.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that would be fun. Tell us a little bit about how you met Michael.
Yeah, so that's a crazy story. So I had, like I had said before, I was out at Utah for a year, just getting work experience and life experience, and then I was going to come home for the summer, repack my bags, and go right on a mission, and that was my goal. But when I came home from Utah, mentally and physically, I was just struggling. So around the fall, and my mom had mentioned this lady, Sherry, who lived across the street. Sherry had given out papers to all the houses in the block saying, like, hey, we're going to do a women's meetup on the street. My mom met her and mentioned she was an esthetician. And so Sherry was like, hey, can I get a facial? They're talking, and they realize that Sherry's sister-in-law is my mom's old best friend from the Bay Area. And Sherry's from the Bay Area as well. So we're like, that's crazy. And that's crazy that we live across the street from each other. Because even my parents, you know, moving to the house was not part of the plan. And there was some revelation that my dad received and like kind of involved in that. And Sherry had moved in maybe a year or two previous before us to be closer to her son who's in a care facility here. So Sherry ended up asking me to house sit for her and dog sit for her when her and Michael went on a trip. And she told me a little bit about Michael, and at the time he and I had a lot in common. We were both in relationships that were long distance. We had both, you know, decided to stay home from our plans. He had gone to Oregon, University of Oregon for a year, and he did not like it. And he ended up going back for a day or two. And he was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm coming home. Like, I'm transferring schools this year. So he was back home as well. And in a way, we were both kind of victims of failed plans and expectations. And so I knew they didn't have any friends in town. So I invited him to FHE one night. And then we didn't, it's funny because we didn't quite hit it off right away. He likes to say that I was like, talkative and way too crazy, and I say that he was way too quiet and didn't say anything, and so we weren't like on the same wavelength quite yet. And I remember he went to FHE, Family Home Evening. For those of you who don't know, that's what we call it in the YSA. He went to FHE and was like, why is everyone barefoot? Like we were just such a quirky little group, and growing up, he didn't have the opportunity to be part of like a fully loving and inclusive congregation. He just saw a lot of things that weren't Christ-like, and he always was like, why aren't people being Christ-like? That's not cool. Because he's always had like a really strong sense of that in his head, even if he didn't always go to church or always know all the doctrine or follow the standards. Like, he's always understood what it means to be Christ-like because he's such a tender heart. So he was a little nervous, I think, going back to church. And yeah, and then from there, we just kind of kept hanging out because I wanted to, like, involve him in the ward. And we just slowly became best friends. And I ended my long-distance relationship. And then soon after, he ended his. And we, realized that we had feelings for each other. And we started dating. And so we're getting married in the beginning of January. And that will be the 1-year anniversary of us dating.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say that he talks a little bit more now than when you first met him?
Yeah, I would say so. I would definitely say that we've balanced each other out a lot. I feel like he's he's like helped me take my mask off and take a lot of my walls down, and so I feel like I can be more myself, which is actually a little bit less performative than I was before. I think especially as women, we feel this expectation to be so up and bubbly and perfect for everyone, and I feel like he really helped me realize that I can just show up as I am, and that's enough. And I feel like I've given him a space where he feels more comfortable to voice his opinions and talk, and yeah.
That's great. Tell me some of the things that you and Michael do together.
We serve in the temple every week, so that's like our big thing that we do together, especially now that we're both working a lot of hours. And we like to go outside. We like to work out when we can fit it in, and we haven't been good about fitting it in now that we work more hours. But we do enjoy like lifting together and stuff. We kind of just do everything together. We run errands together, and even when we were friends, we ended up just doing everything together just by coincidence, and we just ended up being so comfortable with him. We have a few restaurants in town that we really like to eat at, and I really like to cook for him too.
Nice. So you've had the opportunity to serve in the Feather River Temple now, right? And you were serving in the Sacramento Temple before.
Yeah.
So what's it like for you to transition and do a temple that's closer and that, like, kind of, to me, it feels like it belongs to our stake, right?
Yeah.
I know we share it with other people, but it's so much closer to us. What is that like for you?
Yeah, it's been really cool because, I mean, it's definitely like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to help open a temple as an ordinance worker. And so we got to go in before it was, I think we were some of the first people to go in besides a lot of the workers and stuff. So that was really cool. I had been working, I think since this last December, I was an ordinance worker. So I received my endowment, I think like a few weeks before that, and then I immediately started working as a temple worker. So that was also very unique. And it was, at first I was very sad to like leave Sacramento because that was kind of my home and my safe place, and all the sisters there I love so much, and I'm so close to those sisters and a lot of the brothers I knew too. But I realized like as soon as like things started working up with Yuba City, as soon as things started progressing with Yuba City, just like seeing how everyone knows each other. Like just the other day I was sitting in the break room and I was like, oh yeah, like, you know, my dad is son. He's like, oh yeah, I know your dad. Like everyone kind of knows each other just like in Sacramento. And it is so nice cutting our commute in half. Like it makes the world of a difference for us just to only have an hour rather than 2 hours. And it's been really nice because this time, previously Michael would kind of join my mom and I, once he had received his endowment, to just do ordinances all day and hang out with us in the temple because he loved being there. And now he's an ordinance worker in this temple. And so that's really, really fun too. This temple is really unique in the way that the structure is, and the way they've organized things. And there's only one other there's only one other temple like Yuba City in the world. I think it's in Virginia. That's correct. And so there's a lot more, I feel like, opportunities for Michael and I to work together in the temple as ordinance workers.
So we were talking a bit before this interview about you working in the temple and how it's kind of different for your generation to serve as temple workers. Usually it's people who have more time on their hands, maybe retired, right? So older and more experienced in the gospel even. What do you think, and this can go bigger than just the temple, but what do you think your generation can teach our generation about the temple or just about life in general?
I think in regards specifically to the temple is that it's really not that complicated. Like, I have realized that the temple is so much more simple, and I think sometimes we confuse the sacred nature of the temple with it being complicated or super intricate, and the temple is only as intricate as you make it for yourself. And the temple really is just so simple. It's so accessible to everyone. Like, as I have been trained myself and seen how many accommodations they make for everyone and anyone. There's not really a way to mess things up in the temple. And even if something does get messed up, it's so easy to fix. Or even if something doesn't get caught, like that's what the atonement is for, because we're not perfect, and Heavenly Father understands that. And he understands that we're going to make mistakes. And so I think that's the biggest thing I've learned. It's been really funny to see people's assumptions. Usually people, especially before I had a ring on my finger, people would ask, oh, when are you leaving on your mission? Or did you just get home from your mission? And at the time I was still hoping to go on a mission, but I didn't really know. Everything was kind of up in the air. And so it's just kind of funny. I've learned to just be myself and just answer very directly and not have any shame about it. Because sometimes I feel like there's shame involved if you kind of take a different route. And I think we're learning that I've learned that as long as you're keeping the commandments, you're close to the Savior, like genuinely close to the Savior. You're doing all those right things. You're going to get the revelation that you need, and you can trust yourself and you can stick with that. Because I really struggled with that. And I used to worry a lot about other people's opinions in terms of what they thought about me in the gospel. And Michael's helped me a lot with that too. Yeah.
I don't want to be putting words in your mouth, but what I'm hearing you say, because we were talking about the temple, is that it's given you an idea that you're enough.
Yeah.
Like that you do what you know you're supposed to do, and that's sufficient.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. That's a great message to share with everyone. So your generation is really skilled in online platforms of all kinds, just all kinds of platforms. How do you navigate that in your space? And especially in conjunction with trying to live the standards of the church?
It's funny because I'm actually not super technologically advanced, and I'm actually kind of grateful for that at times. Thankfully, Michael can help me with a lot of stuff. I'm asking him all the time to help me with things. He's a computer science major, and he's very good at all that stuff. But I think in high school is when I decided to just stop social media in terms of, like, using it for, like, a representation of myself, like having my own Instagram page with my name on it. And I have a Facebook now that I use. I love Facebook Marketplace. I'm obsessed with it. And I use that just, to post pictures of Michael and I. But other than that, I just decided that I think that social media is honestly a little too dangerous. And so for me, I'm always a big advocate of taking a step back from it. And I think it's hard because my generation specifically, like my age range of those like 18 to like 20, I mean, maybe not even 18, but like 20, early 20s, we're literally the first generation to grow up with it. Like I was the first generation in the world to ever like sit on an iPad late at night or sneak my dad's iPod Touch late at night and play games on it. Like my sister didn't quite have that as much. And so I think we're going to start to see the effects of that as we get older. And I think it'll take a few generations to really see what it's done to us. But I think it does a lot more harm than we realize. And I think it did also give me the opportunity to become very self-aware at a younger age about my mental health and my anxiety because, obviously more and more kids are feeling it these days and are a lot more vocal about it. And so for me, the way I navigate it is just to keep a safe distance from it. But of course, I mean, I can be pretty pessimistic about it, so I still try and see the good in terms of the advancements that it gives the church, because it's so much easier to pay my tithing, it's so much easier to share things. So there, of course, are those benefits. Watching General Conference on your phone, in the car, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's some pretty fantastic things.
Yeah.
You said that you keep a safe distance. Like, what are some rules that you've given yourself or guidelines that you've given yourself to create that safe distance?
I don't think I'll ever have a platform just representing myself again, besides Facebook, to post Michael and I for rare occasions. I think especially for young adults and teens. It's very damaging to self-image. Everyone's expecting everything from you all the time. There's no break from it. There's no boundaries from it. I even sometimes think the idea of texting is weird. You're just kind of always expected to be there and answer no matter where you're at. Everyone has,
immediately.
Yes, and everyone has 24/7 access to each other, and that's so not normal. And it can be a blessing for sure, but in my life, I've seen more of the negative effects of it. So for me personally, I don't have Instagram, I don't have Snapchat, I don't have Twitter, I don't have any other things. The big thing for me is I'm definitely still a big fan of YouTube. I watch a lot of like cleaning videos, cake decorating videos, random things, and I still definitely catch myself watching things and comparing myself to other girls my age who are influencers and seem to have everything together. So I'm definitely not immune to it in any way, shape, or form. I still succumb to that for sure.
Sure. So there's a lot of people that take a break from the phone specifically, like one day out of a month or something like that. Do you do anything like that?
I know that when Michael and I have gone on vacations before, Michael kind of shares the same mindset about social media. In terms of, I think for him it doesn't affect him as much in his like self-esteem or self-worth. I think there's a little bit less pressure on guys, and he's just a lot more resilient to those kinds of things. But he and I are definitely the type of people where, like, if we can, we'll leave our phones at home. Like, we prefer that. Or as long as one person has the phone on us for safety reasons. So we find ourselves doing that on vacations or days off.
Okay. What is something that you see in your parents' lives that they do well that you want to carry into your future with Michael?
Definitely the way they treat each other. They, it's so nice to see, my dad come home every day, and my mom's always happy to see him and always gives him a kiss. And, they're still the best friends after all these years. They've been married since they were like 20. So it'll be like the same as Michael and I. And they're just best friends, and they love hanging out with each other. And whenever they get the chance, the other, their significant others who they want to be with and hang out with.
I love that. You had mentioned earlier that you and Michael are victims of failed expectations or failed plans, something like that. You'd wanted to serve a mission and you weren't able to, and he'd wanted to go to college and it didn't work. That campus didn't work out for him. What advice would you share with your peers when they come up against that, when they find that their expectations are not being met and they feel like they've failed at what they really wanted to succeed at?
Yeah. I would say, I think, again, going back to what I've learned from the temple about being enough, I think that at the end of the day, if you can look at yourself and say, like, am I a good person? Am I trying my best? And do I have the relationship with the Savior that I want to have, for me personally, then that's kind of it. It's a lot more simple than you think it is. And I think Michael's taught me a lot about trying to simplify my life. And he's such a good example of just knowing what's important and prioritizing those things in his life. And so it's helped me to do that a little bit more rather than prioritizing what everyone else thinks of me or what everyone else expects of me. And it's helped me to kind of relax into the situation. Because I think once he and I both relaxed into the situation, accepted it, that's when all these other doors kind of opened up for us with, like, us being engaged and seeing, like, our minds we weren't as narrow-minded about the situation.
Narrow-minded meaning, like, you failed in your attempt to do something,
so that
right?
was it. So we're done.
Yeah.
We're failures. But it takes a lot to be a failure, I think. There's not very much, just like in the temple, like, there's not very much you can do to mess up. There's not very much you can do to be a failure. So.
Can you tell us what you hope for in the future? It can be like the next 5 years and then maybe even like the next 30.
For sure, kids. Yeah, I'm really excited to have kids. I would really like to get back into dance. I would like to perform again, but I don't know. I'm sure that's something I'm also trying to keep an open mind about, but it's definitely really hard. So kind of either finding closure with my dance journey or continuing it, and being healthy. I think that's really important for both Michael and I, finding healthy balance in life. Health is definitely a big priority for me. And that includes spiritually healthy too.
Spiritually, mentally, physically.
Emotionally.
Yeah. That is a great goal to have, to be healthy in all those areas.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for spending some time with us. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and hearing about some of your experiences.
Thank you for having me.